Today is 29th of April 2025. Yesterday I talked three levels of energy. They are initial energy, uplifting energy, and culminating energy. Meanwhile, I talked about how to confront with unpleasant sensations, and I mentioned few more things about how we can motivate oneself in order to uplift, in order to boost up the energy, or simply how we can develop the second level of energy, boosting up energy. When we apply the techniques that I have mentioned yesterday in order to confront, to deal with unpleasant sensations, it doesn't mean that on the first conquer or unpleasant sensations. Some may conquer at the first attempt, some may not. Some may need to try, some may need to do second attempt, some may need to do third attempt, and so on. We need a great desire, great zeal in order to conquer the unpleasant sensations. With that great desire and zeal, we have to keep trying again and again. We should not give up. We should not surrender unpleasant sensations. We should not withdraw. We have to move. We have to keep moving forward. If you keep moving forward, if you keep trying again and again, definitely the time will come when you conquer or beat unpleasant sensations. And once you conquer the unpleasant sensations, you develop the confidence. You develop the confidence like, oh, you made it. You can do that. And that confidence will help you to confront in future unpleasant sensations again and again. When you compete with opponent in boxing, At the beginning, you may or may not have enough confidence to compete with that opponent. But once you beat the opponent, you develop confidence. You develop confidence. And that confidence will support you for next time to compete with the same opponent or to compete with other opponents. That is what we call victories. Victories build confidence. Similarly here, as you conquer the unpleasant sensation by trying again and again, by uplifting on the second level of energy, as you conquer, as you beat unpleasant sensation once, your confidence, you develop confidence. And next time, when you have to confront again the same type of, similar type of unpleasant sensation or any other different unpleasant sensation, now you have confidence. You have confidence like, oh, you have already conquered before, so that you can do it again. You can conquer it again. That kind of confidence will be there. And confidence drives more success. When you develop confidence, you will have more success to conquer unpleasant sensations. It is not just about the confidence, but it is about the skill as well. The more you face the unpleasant sensations, the more skill develops. You become familiar with unpleasant sensations. Skill also develops, and you get familiar with those unpleasant sensations. And that will also help you to deal with unpleasant sensations. In this way, your uplifting energy becomes stronger and stronger. And in future, no matter how strong, how painful, unpleasant sensation arise, you will be able to conquer easily. No difficulties. No difficulties. We can also say that your energy, your energy has upper hand now. At the beginning, unpleasant sensations have upper hand. So we can't conquer, but later energy has the upper hand, so easy to beat unpleasant sensations. That is why it is mentioned in the text. Energy can conquer all kinds of discomforts. When your energy becomes really strong, you will be able to conquer or beat or overcome all kind of difficulties, all kind of discomforts, all kinds of unpleasant sensations. So that's why with great zeal, with great desire, we have to keep trying again and again. We have to keep inspiring, motivating oneself so that we can develop the high level of energy. In this case, many yogis may have a question how we can develop strong energy, how we can build up strong energy. The best way to develop strong energy is repeated application of the energy itself. Because every preceding energy is the nearest cause to develop succeeding energy. I repeat, every preceding energy is the nearest cause for succeeding energy. That's why we have to keep applying energy again and again, moment by moment. Unbroken energy, unbroken energy is the way, or is the best way to develop the strong energy. So that means when we observe presently rising object, we have to observe one after another, one after another. Let's say when we do sitting meditation, as soon as we close our eyes, we observe rising and falling. To observe rising, we apply launching energy or initial energy, and falling take place. To observe falling, another launching energy we apply, then another rising, falling. Again, we apply another launching energy. In this way, if we keep applying launching energy continuously, constantly, launching energy becomes stronger. Launching energy becomes stronger. And this launching energy must be unbroken. There should not be any gap, any interval. Because as I have just mentioned, preceding energy is the great support for succeeding energy. If there is gap, interval, then the succeeding energy will not get support from preceding energy. That's why the energy that we apply must be continuous. That's why in sitting, when we observe rising and falling, we try our best to observe one after another rising, falling, one after another rising, falling. If mind wanders, immediately we try to catch. In fact, when you observe rising and falling, if your observation is good, if your observation is continuous, it's become easier to detect, to discover the thinking and thoughts. Or it becomes easier to discover or notice when mind wanders. Otherwise, unless you delay to discover when mind wanders. That is why at the beginning of the practice, we delay. Since our observation or our energy is yet to be continuous, we hardly can observe constantly at the beginning of the practice. So we delay to notice the wandering mind. But as the observing becomes continuous, we come to notice instantly whether wandering, whether thinking, thoughts, and so on. Later, yogis will discover even the intention to think, intention to plan, or simply yogis will detect the mind which is about to wander, which is about to think. So before happening, yogis will discover that mentality because of continuous observation. That's why it is very important to observe continuously from the very beginning of the sitting, especially observing the main object rising and falling. That is why at this moment I would like to urge all yogis to observe continuously with unbroken mindfulness or with unbroken energy. Try to apply launching energy continuously. If mind wanders, then observe wandering mind, note, label it, and then return back to the abdomen. Again, try to observe continuously. In this way, if you try to observe continuously, when unpleasant sensations arise, it becomes easier to observe unpleasant sensation. This is the one more thing I didn't mention yesterday, how to deal with the unpleasant sensation. One of the better way to observe, to deal with the unpleasant sensation is before the arising of the unpleasant sensation, if you observe rising and falling precisely, meticulously, thoroughly, it becomes easier to observe unpleasant sensation when it arises. So before unpleasant sensation rises, so observe precisely, meticulously rising and falling. That will assist you, that will help you to observe the unpleasant sensation. So in this way, while we do sitting meditation, we try to observe continuously, and when time is up, when we finish sitting meditation, when we are about to open our eyes, it is better to note that intention, like wanting to open, wanting to open. When we open our eyes, note opening, opening. So these are minor objects to be observed, but they play very important role in order to give continuity, in order to give continuity in our mindfulness. And right now we can say in order to give continuity in our energy, to make the energy continuous. Note opening eyes. Then after, we might be looking, seeing something. You may note as looking, seeing, looking, seeing. Then after what? What is the another action that you perform? Note that action. Maybe you may move your hand, you may move your leg. Then after what? Then after what? In this way, one after another, you have to observe all the activities that you perform. And when you stand up, note standing. After standing, if you adjust your clothes, note that action. When you turn around, note turning. After turning, then standing. Then when you are about to make the first step to walk, you may note as wanting to walk, wanting to walk. Then we make a first step. And that is the beginning of our walking meditation. Sometimes yogis don't count that as walking meditation until they approach the place where they do the official walking meditation. Some yogis don't count walking meditation when they go to washroom, when they go to their room. In fact, each step counts as walking meditation. Whether you walk inside the meditation hall, whether you walk outside the meditation hall, whether you walk towards washroom or to dining room, to your room, wherever you walk, it counts as walking meditation. So walk mindfully, walk mindfully, and again, each step plays important role in order to boost up our energy. As we mentioned in sitting meditation, each rising and falling, each rising and falling. Similarly, each step or each lifting, each dropping, each lifting, moving, dropping plays important role in order to boost up our energy or in order to make our energy strong. So this is how we can develop stronger energy. So that means from early morning, from early morning until we go to the bed, if we keep trying our best continuously and meticulously, then we are developing stronger and stronger energy, consciously or unconsciously. Day by day, our energy becomes stronger, consciously, unconsciously. So this is the best way. Of course, there are many ways in order to make our energy stronger, but this is the best way. Commentaries mention many other techniques to uh, develop the energy, to develop the stronger energy, but in Pali, in the main text, Buddha mentioned the best way to develop energy, that is the continuous observation. Continuous observation, continuous application of the energy is the best way to develop the stronger energy. This is how you can develop stronger energy. That's why whether it is sitting meditation, whether it is walking meditation, or whether it is day-to-day activities, try to apply sufficient energy. One more thing I would like to say, at times we don't apply sufficient energy in day-to-day activities. In sitting, when we observe rising and falling, we try our best to apply sufficient energy, strong energy. When we do walking meditation, we try our best to apply sufficient energy. But when we do day-to-day activities, we fail to do so. We become careless. we take casually and we apply less energy. That is what we call disrespect in practice. We have to practice in a reverential manner. In order to practice reverential manner, whether sitting, whether walking, whether in day-to-day activities, we have to apply strong energy. Because as I just mentioned, every moment or every noting, every object is crucial, plays very important role in order to purify of our mind or in the purification of the mind. So I would like to ask all the yogis, please try to apply sufficient energy, whether sitting, walking, or day-to-day activities. And at the same time, I would like to request yogis to do more slowly. Yes, I could see some yogis are definitely trying to do slowly. There are still few yogis who are not doing slowly, so try to do slowly. How much you did slowly yesterday, today try to do more slowly. Next day even more slowly. Because the slower you do or you perform, the faster you progress. This is the principle of the Vipassana meditation. The slower you perform your activities, mindfully, of course, mindfully, the faster you progress. So try to do slowly as well. And again, that will help you to make your energy stronger. So this is how we can develop stronger energy. At this moment, I would again like to talk about the 4 types of energy categorized based on the function of energy. We call them as 4 exhaustion, in Pali Chatu Sammapadana, 4 exhaustion. So today I will talk about these 4 exhaustion. The first one is, I would like to recite Pali. Anutpannanang akusalanang dhammanang anupadaya vayamo. Means the energy that we apply in order to prevent the unwholesomenesses which haven't arisen yet. The energy that we apply in order to prevent the unwholesomenesses. Unwholesomenesses means the defilements, impurities of the mind. So to prevent the impurities, to prevent the defilements, which haven't arisen yet. So first we have to understand the impurities or the defilements which haven't arisen yet. If we think simply, we may think that, oh, in my mind, all kinds of impurities have arisen. Because we know that there are basically 10 kinds of impurities or defilements we call kilesa in Pali, and they are lobha, greed, dosa, anger, moha, illusion, mana, proud or conceit, ditti, wrong view, vichikicha, skeptical doubt, tina, sloth, uddhacca, restlessness, ahiri, lack of moral shame, and finally anottappa, lack of moral fear. These are the impurities, 10 kilesas. So if we think in general, all these impurities have arisen in our mind in the past. So what are the impurities or defilements which haven't arisen yet? To understand, let's take an example. Let's say you are sitting, you are doing sitting meditation. At that time, a fellow yogis make a noise consciously, unconsciously, intentionally, or without intention. When he or she makes noise and you fail to note as hearing, then anger tends to arise. Anger tends to arise to that yogi because you fail to note. So that anger hasn't arisen before. Anger to that yogi, anger to that fellow yogi has not arisen before. Another example, when you go to dining hall, when you see delicious food, greed may arise. And when there is no delicious food, again anger may arise. So again, that anger, that greed have never arisen before. So to that specific object, that specific anger, greed, or other impurities haven't arisen before. So these are the impurities, these are the kilesas, defilements, haven't arisen before. So in order to not to arise, those impurities, those defilements, we apply energy. We apply energy by absorbing presently rising object. If sitting, rising and falling. If thinking and thoughts, then thinking and thoughts. If pain, then pain. If movements of the legs, then movements of the legs. Even in sitting, when unpleasant sensation is there, if we don't apply energy to absorb that unpleasant sensation, frustration, aversion tend to arise. And that frustration, aversion have never arisen before. That is again the unwholesomeness hasn't arisen before. So in this way there are numerous defilements haven't arisen before. So to prevent, to not to give chance, to not to admit, to not to give rooms for those unwholesomenesses, we apply energy, we absorb the presently arising object, and we prevent. So that is the force energy. According to its function, it prevents. Prevention is its function. It prevents the unwholesomenesses to not to arise. The second one is, again I would like to recite the Pali, Utpannanang akusalanang dhammanang pahanaya vayamo. The energy which dispels the unwholesomenesses which have already arisen. While practicing meditation, while observing presently arising object, by any chance, greed, anger, hatred, proud, doubt, or any of these impurities or defilements arise, what we do, we apply another energy to note, and by noting, we dispel. We dispel immediately, we dispel instantly. That is the another function of the effort or exertion. As soon as we realize anger as anger, greed as greed, conceit as conceit, proud as proud, we note and we dispel. So immediate dispelling by application of energy. This is the second type of energy or second function of the energy. The third one is anutpannanang kusalanang dhammanang upadaya vayamo. The energy to generate the wholesomenesses which haven't arisen yet. While practicing meditation, we are not just preventing, dispelling the unwholesomenesses. Meanwhile, we generate the wholesomenesses, wholesome mental factors, as well. So energy generates those wholesome mental factors. To understand how the energy generates wholesome mental factors, again, we have to know first what are the wholesomenesses haven't arisen yet. If we think simply, if you think simply, you may think that, oh, I'm a Buddhist, that's why I have done dana, generosity, charity, I have practiced sila, morality, I have practiced meditation before, so I have done dana, I have practiced sila, I have practiced meditation. So dana, sila, bhavana, these are the main three wholesome actions. So I have done before. What could be the wholesome actions? What could be the wholesome mentalities haven't arisen in my mind? The mindfulness that we develop is the wholesomeness that hasn't arisen before. Let's say in sitting meditation, when you observe rising as rising and you develop mindfulness, that mindfulness has never arisen before. When you're not falling as falling, and let's say you again develop another mindfulness, that mindfulness has never arisen before. So every time when you note presently arising object and develop mindfulness, that mindfulness has never arisen before. And mindfulness is definitely wholesomeness. If you develop concentration, that concentration has never arisen before. If you develop wisdom, that wisdom has never arisen before. In fact, the energy itself is wholesome here. The energy that we apply each moment itself is the wholesome one. Energy is related both sides. You may find energy on unwholesome side and on wholesome side as well. It is related to both sides. For example, when we attempt to kill other beings, we definitely apply energy. Without energy, we can't attempt to kill others. Energy is definitely there. When we try to steal other belongings, when we try to do sexual misconduct, even when we lie, when we slander, when we take intoxicants, energy is definitely there, but that one is not a wholesome energy. That is unwholesome energy. But right here, When we are practicing meditation, this one is wholesome one. When we do dana, when we do charity, that is the wholesome energy. When we practice sila, when we practice meditation, whenever we do good things, good actions, the energy involved at that moment is wholesome one. Whenever we do unwholesome actions, whether bodily, verbally, or mentally, the energy involved at that time is unwholesome one. That's why right now, when we are practicing meditation, the energy that we assert in order to absorb the presently arising object, in order to deal with unpleasant sensation, in order to get our goal, this energy is the wholesome one. So that's why the energy itself is the wholesome energy developing, that we are developing. So energy is being developed, mindfulness is being developed, concentration, wisdom, moral fear, moral shame. So many good mentalities or wholesome mentalities are being developed while we are mindful, while we observe the presently arising object, and all those good mentalities, good mental factors are the mental factors haven't arisen before. So in this way, energy generates the wholesomenesses which haven't arisen before. And of course, the path and fruition knowledge hasn't arisen yet. So energy will generate in future. As we keep practicing, energy will generate, energy will produce the path and fruition knowledge. If not path and fruition knowledge, at least vipassana knowledges. Vipassana knowledges will be generated or will be developed by the energy. So these are the wholesomenesses that haven't arisen, and energy generates or develops the wholesomenesses. Those haven't arisen yet. The last one is Utpannanang kusalanang dhammanang bheyo bhavaya vayamo. To sustain, to develop, to cultivate, and to fulfill the wholesomenesses which have already arisen. Again, energy. So the energy that sustains, cultivates, develops, and fulfills the wholesomenesses which have already arisen. Mindfulness that we have already developed yesterday, the concentration that we have already developed yesterday, the energy itself that we have already developed yesterday. If wisdom, then wisdom that we have already developed yesterday will be sustained, will be cultivated by energy. To understand, I said the mindfulness concentration developed yesterday. In fact, even the mindfulness concentration wisdom that we have developed just before, even before a second, or we can, if we say even deeply, when we note rising, there is the mindfulness. When we note falling, then again mindfulness. So the second noting will sustain, cultivate the first one. The second energy that we have applied will sustain the first one, will cultivate the first one. So in this way, the energy cultivates, sustains, or develops, and finally it fulfills the wholesomenesses that have already arisen. So these are the four functions of the energy, or based on the functions of energy, energy is categorized uh, in four. And while practicing meditation, in each noting, in fact, in each noting, we perform all these. While observing rising as rising, we prevent the unwholesomenesses. We prevent unwholesomenesses which haven't arisen yet. By any chance, if unwholesomenesses arise, we note and we dispel at the same time. And at the same time, we generate mindfulness, concentration. And we cultivate, we sustain the wholesomenesses which have already arisen. So, all at once. All at once. In every single noting, all at once. This is how beneficial it is. Energy. That's why energy plays very important role in our practice. And yesterday, that is why I mentioned energy is the leader. That is what text mentioned, in fact. Energy is the leader in our practice. Without energy, our practice is not possible. We can't develop mindfulness. We can't develop concentration. We can't develop wisdom. We can't deal with unpleasant sensation. We can't confront unpleasant sensation. So nothing is possible if we don't have a sufficient energy, strong energy. So by knowing how important the energy is, by knowing the functions of the energy, so I would like to say, I would like to ask all the yogis, may you all be able to apply sufficient energy, strong energy. Repeatedly, I am saying strong energy because if energy is not sufficient, then it is not going to be effective. Like as I just mentioned, when you hit the opponent boxer, if you don't apply, if you don't blow the strong punch, then you are not going to beat the opponent. Similarly, when you observe the presently arising object, if your energy is not strong, then you will not be able to beat unwholesomenesses, because our main objective of practicing meditation is purification of the mind. So that's why may you all be able to apply strong, sufficient energy, and by application of strong energy, may you be able to prevent the unwholesomenesses which haven't arisen yet. May you be able to dispel the unwholesomenesses which have already arisen. May you be able to generate the wholesomenesses which haven't arisen yet, and then may you be able to cultivate, sustain, develop, and fulfill the wholesomenesses that have already arisen.